The biggest challenge is going in and selling, hey, I need to take the time to reorganize this, and this is going to be the benefit to both the company and the customer.
How do you see the role of a technical writer evolving into that kind of a knowledge manager position?
The job of a technical writing manager is to do two things. One is to build more expertise in your technical writers.
Biggest challenge as a technical writer you faced or somebody could face when they are trying to move to this new management?
I'll go in, for example, to a company and they'll have Confluence.
Yeah.
And I go in there and their Confluence has 150 spaces in it. And I sit here and I'm like, I don't know where to find this information. The search sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. It's not all correlated. It doesn't all link to each other, that kind of thing. A big part of it, I think, is going to be how do we gather information?
Welcome to the Knowledge Based Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Welcome everyone to the Knowledge Based Ninjas podcast. With me today, I've got Jenna Ingersoll, Knowledge Program Manager at Aristocrat. Hi Jenna, how are you doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it pleasures us because I should again highlight you've got over 14 plus years of experience in this space and there must be a lot to talk about. But let's just start with my usual question of how did you start this as your career? What inspired you? Please share your success story.
Yeah, so I think I had an unusual one. And I think the thing to point out here is that technical writing's out there for everybody, and you may not even know it. So I started my career at a company called Siegel, and I was in the technical support department there. And so I was there for about 9 months, and then I was called into my boss's office, and they asked me, they said, hey, are you interested in a career in technical writing? And I was like, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, documentation. You just write for our software. And I'm like, I'm still not understanding. Like, come
Yeah.
on, tell me a little bit more. And so ultimately, I ended up interviewing a minor interview as just a little writing test. And part of the reason they asked me was because they said your writing is really good when you're writing to customers. You're giving them instructions in your emails and things. And it's just
Nice.
really impressed us. And so I said, okay, let's give this a go.
Yeah.
I got a technical support. And from there, it was just, I worked there for a number of years. And about after 2.5 years, they said, hey, we need to expand our company because we're doing more documentation on more products. And so we're going to hire another technical writer. Well, you're the only one, so we're going to put them under you. So then I started learning technical writing management kind of off the cusp. So none of
Wow.
this was trained for. I certainly had the skills from education. I have a degree in philosophy. I always say with my philosophy degree, helps me understand people, helps me reach multiple audiences, even if I don't agree with them,
Okay.
because I can understand, or at least maybe not understand, but I can at least see the different viewpoints and see where people are coming from. So after Siegel, I got a documentation manager position at High Fidelity, which is a startup company at the time, before moving to Big Fish Games and Aristocrat.
Wow. Wow. Fantastic. What a great journey. And yeah, so the team must be super impressed with the way you've been handling customer queries through the support channel and amazing, amazing, Jenna. Now, you spoke about literally being put as a manager to manage the team. Now, how do you see the role of a technical writer evolving into that kind of a knowledge manager position?
Sure. The thing about a technical writer is they're really focused on the actual physical skills of writing. So they want to make sure that they're writing well. We always hear clear and concise.
Yeah.
We're always talking about those concepts of making sure, hey, your writing is clear, it's well organized, it's written well in the sense of being concise and easy to understand and comprehend. And then The job of a technical writing manager is to do two things. One is to build more expertise in your
Mm-hmm.
technical writers, so to help them actually be able to reach out to different audiences they think they can. Sometimes they need a little bit of help there along the way. So we want to
Mm-hmm.
develop those technical writers, let them see where the different careers can take them. But then also you're really responsible for the strategy and the
Yeah.
knowledge sharing of your documentation. So a lot of the work I've done in the past has been, what tools are we using? And how is that tool going to be formatted so that the person can actually engage with our content in a really good way? It's identifying what technical writing actually needs to be added that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
helpful, as opposed to just extraneous stuff that people are never going to read. So it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of metrics, that strategy. What are we going to write in the future to really help our company, but also help our users experience with whatever they're reading?
Yeah. Now, in terms of core skills beyond writing, what do you think should a technical writer focus on developing?
I think that there are a couple of really core skills. One is they have to have some technical knowledge. And I'm going to really say, like, a lot of technical writers come in and they're like, hey, just give me the information and I can write it up. And that's
Mm-hmm.
great. That's a big skill you need to have. But
Mm-hmm.
how well can you actually interview technical people, get the information that you need yourself, and then be able to write it? And that's something that's
Yeah.
helped me so much on my career, is that I'm a sponge. I just take it all in. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my unique things is that I actually can then take pieces out of it that don't actually need to be done, or I can rewrite something in a way that someone's like, oh, that's a lot easier to read and I understand it.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
and then beyond that, there's really more to consider than just writing. And this is like where I talk about knowledge management practices that I feel like are very important for technical writers to learn. So you need to learn how to identify the information that you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
writing about. You need to create it, which is the technical writing portion of it. But how do
Yeah.
you capture that information after you identify it? How do you share that information effectively? And I talk about formatting. I talk about the tool set you're using. Are you going to do it online? Is this better done in an email? We're really
Mm-hmm.
talking about not just official programs, but really how do you get that information there? And then how do you store that? How does your company or your customer use the information? And then how do you retain, or how does your customer retain that information so they don't have to keep coming back to it
Yeah.
time and time again?
Wow, that's a lot, isn't it?
It
So
really is, I know.
once you start digging deep into it, there's so many arenas and options that you can choose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important, or I shouldn't say the most important thing, but taking all of this together and really thinking about, what does the customer need? Information. And then I'm talking about information rather than documentation, because it's a much broader concept than when we say technical writing.
Yeah.
It's information sharing. What makes this sharing of information easier and more accessible?
Mm-hmm.
It's really at the core of it, that's what documentation is.
Yeah.
Documentation is gathering information, it's sharing information, and it's writing information so that our audience can retain it and stay engaged with it and know that it's a really reliable resource in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just coming back to the manager role, right? 14 plus years of experience you've done. When we look at your LinkedIn profile, number of places you've managed a team. So it's all nice, but what could be the biggest challenge as a technical writer you faced or somebody could face when they are trying to move to this new management
Yeah, I think
area?
a big challenge is going into a company that doesn't have anything or very much. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll go in, for example, to a company and they'll have Confluence.
Yeah.
And I go in there and their Confluence has 150 spaces in it. And I sit here and I'm like, I don't know where to find this information. The
Mm.
search sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. It's not all correlated. It doesn't all link to each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge is going in and selling, hey, I need to take the time to reorganize this, and this is going to be the benefit to both the company and the customer. So we're going to have cost savings. We're going to have faster access to our knowledge. We're going to
Mm.
have a single service place where people can go without having to contact our developers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it definitely is selling that and then taking the time. And these projects can take years sometimes. And it gets a little bit mundane. And you're
Yeah.
saying,
Because
okay,
they are used to it, right? And they don't see any issues. But when somebody newly joins the team and can see from a different perspective, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
yeah. And when I talk to my friends, they're like, what do you do? I'm like, that's an interesting conversation. And I
Yeah.
start going into all these other elements, and they're like, we need you at our company. And I'm like, a lot of companies do. They just don't recognize the need for that. Go
Absolutely.
beyond just the technical writer.
Very, very well said, Jenna. Now, I can't stop talking about this topic to you, and you must have already started sensing and already started doing some of these elements. Now, how do you see the role of AI and automation shaping the intersection of technical writing and, because you're into management, the knowledge management in the near future?
Right. A big part of it, I think, is going to be how do we gather information? And was in a demo of Atlassian a couple months ago, and they showed new features that they were doing that said, hey, you can link this to Google Docs, you can link this to your private server, you can link this to all of these different elements. You can put a web page in there, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll not only search Confluence for you, but we'll search all of these things
Mm-hmm.
pull in that information and we'll organize it in such a way that you can understand it. Now, it's still early in its conception, but that kind of thing where you're not just doing a single interview, but you have an easy way to type in something and then get all these different resources and all this different
Yeah.
information is one way I definitely see AI helping. Another way is that, improving people's writing is one way
Yeah.
that we use it right now. And so there's tools, Grammarly is one of the most common ones,
Mm-hmm.
where we no longer have to have that perfect draft first thing and then get red marks over it. We can just
Yeah.
type in whatever's on our mind, type it in, and then Grammarly is like, hey, you meant to write it this way. And you say, yes, I was. And what that makes is the review process so much faster because now someone's not looking at for those really minute details of is your grammar right here? Oh, did you switch from you to they? Things like
Yeah.
that. We
Very
had
time
now,
consuming as well, isn't it?
yes, is
Yeah.
very time consuming. So you save the
Mm.
time, you save the cost, which is connected to that time of someone actually having to review it
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
you're hiring that person. So that's a time cost savings. Really helps your technical writer be a lot happier. They're not
Yeah.
getting all the red marks in their
Absolutely,
documentation.
absolutely. Now, in terms of processes and frameworks, having consistency and accuracy across documentation is a big pain, right? Or we could call it as another big challenge. Do you have any suggestions, like what processes or framework do you use to maintain the accuracy?
Yeah, so what I definitely I have a style sheet that I
Mm-hmm.
create for each company and it's unique for each company. That's a lot of people will just say, "Hey, use the Chicago manual." And you're like, "No, it may not
Mm-hmm.
be appropriate for this company."
Yeah,
So I always write up like a list. These are the acronyms you use. This is when you use the acronyms and when you use the terms.
right.
These are the terms to use. And when you give that to everybody and they get very familiar with that,
Mm-hmm.
and your documentation among all your writers really becomes very consistent.
Yeah.
I have regular one-on-ones with all of my writers and
Mm-hmm.
allows me to be kind of that consistent line that they all have to meet, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you have 50 employees, it's a little more difficult to do, but
Yeah.
I've had 5, 10 employees, and it's a lot easier to do that. And they get used to how I write, and then and then I get used to how they write, and we kind of meet in the middle, and then
Yeah.
we get this consistent framework going on. So those are a couple of ways that I do it. I definitely can see, AI helping in the future with that tone of voice too, with different writing styles.
Fantastic. Yeah, creating templates and sticking to the rules is the best approach, I would say. Thank you. Now, moving on to the rapid fire round questions, Jenna. I'm sure you must be reading a lot of contents out in the web or in the form of books or any other media. Anything that you can name to our audiences today.
audience today. I've got a book back here. It's called Your Road to Yes, and it talks about having a very positive culture in your workplace.
All right. Wow, that's nice. Thank you for that. So do you know the author to that book?
I've got it. It's right here.
Sure, sure.
It's Justin Patton.
All right. Your
Yes.
road to yes. Thank you. Now, one word that comes to your mind when you hear documentation.
Knowledge, information.
Information, knowledge, yeah. A piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
Learn how to say no is the biggest one. I'm that person that has to like you say yes to every project coming in, and
Yeah.
it leads to burnout. So learning to say no and prioritizing correctly.
Great. That's great. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, 14 plus years is not an easy task. I hope I made some justice to it by asking the right questions. But Jenna, please feel free to add anything else if you think you would like to share with our audiences today.
This is a big passion of mine, and so it sounds like 14 years is long, and it's kind of sloggy in the end. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there are difficulties. But a big passion of mine is creating that content strategy
Mm-hmm.
and really engaging with the customer without engaging. So I really want to teach and I really want to educate people. And that I just love doing that. So I do that every day by talking to people. But when you're remote from someone,
Yeah.
it's really more difficult to do that. And I think when you're sitting here at a career that's a long time career, being passionate about what you do is
Mm-hmm.
going to make all the difference in the world. So trying to find that passion. And I didn't realize I had this passion until high school when I was in an internship. And they just put me in front of a classroom and they said, "Hey, let's have you do the intro section." And I
Yeah.
said, I'm not ready for this. Like I've trained, I'm not ready. And they said, "Yes, you are." And I got up on that stage, see the people's interest. I
Yeah.
said, "You know what? That's what I'm meant to do." And then
Mm-hmm.
I could do that through writing made all the difference for me in keeping my career for the 14 years I've been in it.
Amazing. And I think with your permission, I would like to thank those people who identified the talent within you in the first place and brought
Yes.
you into this career. So thank you. I don't know their names, but whoever it was. So thank you so much for that. And Jenna, that's it. All the very best for your
Great.
projects. And I'm sure you're doing amazing things as we speak. And yeah, have a lovely day.
Great. Thank you so much. I loved doing this with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.